Hello and welcome back to the Mauldin High Broadcast Network. My name's Andrew Baxley. I'm alongside Ben Coggins, Landon Myers, and Brendan Bress. We'll have Rajan Chitral on the phone a little bit later, as well as defensive coordinator Coach Washington. We'll interview him in about 15 minutes, but just to get started, we'll kick it back off with high school football. Mauldin Mavericks. We're looking to still be on track to get workouts started back on the 20th. That's really the only news we have on that. Jameson Tucker offered by Erskine, his first basketball offer. That happened a week ago. But it's been a slow couple weeks in terms of recruiting. No more new offers for Randy Caldwell or Jaden Lucas, although Jaden's pretty much maxed out. Whoever's going to offer him has offered him by now. But, yeah, we'll get started. I think this would be week 6 of our Mauldin football season. We travel north to Bowling Springs. Wait, is it? I think they come to us, actually. I'm not even sure.
They came to us last year. They came to us this year.
All right, we travel to Bowling Springs. We travel to Bowling Springs to take on the Bowling Springs Bulldogs. Of course, you know the deal for the Mauldin Mavericks. Head coach Sarah Neesmith, 6-6 last year, finished 4th in the region, making it to round 2 of the 5A state playoffs. We play York week 1, Spartanburg week 2, Greenville week 3, Wade Hampton week 4, and Carolina week 5. And then for the Bowling Springs Bulldogs, their head coach is Rick Tate. They were 4-7 last year, finishing 5th in the region. They made it to round 1 of the 5A state playoffs, losing to Clover. They play Dorman, Chapman, Spartanburg, and Hillcrest leading up to this game. Last year, when these two teams faced off, Mauldin won 42-21. And then in 2018, the year before that, Bowling Springs won 16-6. But usually when these two teams play, it's very high scoring. Most notably, November of 2013, in which the final score of that game was 83-70. And Dre Massey broke almost every offensive record for the Mauldin Mavericks on that game. More like a basketball score, it sounds like, than a football score, but I can assure you it was football. But for the Bowling Springs Bulldogs, a couple key players to look out for them. Caden Sullivan, a 2021 safety. He's committed to App State. He's a 3-star. He's a number 33 player in the state of South Carolina.
points wise, and then it should be an easy win for Mauldin.
Yeah, I was thinking something a little bit similar. I think Jeb's going to have to step up. Both teams actually have some questions on the offensive side, especially at quarterback. Both teams have some strong running backs in Charles McFadden Jr. and George Ford, and then also both teams some talented defensive backs. So we match up pretty evenly with them. But one thing to keep in mind is you have to remember last year it got pretty heated, especially at the beginning of the game. These two teams, although it's not a rivalry, they did not act as if they liked each other. And Mauldin really used that to their advantage, and they got out to a strong early lead and eventually won by 21 points, which was good for us. But, again, Bowling Springs, it's at their place this time, so Mauldin won't be able to feed off the crowd as heavy as we did this year. That's going to do it here to start off. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to get Coach Washington on the phone, and then we'll be right back in just a second.
What's up, man? What's going on? All right.
All right, we're back here on Garage Talks. We got Coach Washington, the new defensive coordinator, on the phone here with us. So, Coach, how you doing? How you doing so far today?
I'm doing pretty good today. How about y'all guys?
We're good. We're just hanging out here. We'll go ahead and get started with the interview. So, Coach, just to start us off, could you give us a bit of your background for our listeners who may not know as much about you?
Your background for the listeners that don't know about me.
Yes, sir.
I'm a Mauldin guy. I'm from Greenville, South Carolina. I went to Mauldin Elementary, and I graduated from Mauldin High School. So Mauldin means a lot to me, dearly in my heart.
All right, that's good to hear that you sound like you're Mauldin blood, just like most of us here as well. So
Absolutely.
Along with your responsibilities at Mauldin High School, you also run Your Next Training, which develops defensive backs, young defensive backs, high school and middle school. Just tell us a little bit more about that and what you do in terms of training for your players at Your Next Training.
So YNT, Your Next Training, the meaning of that is basically we're trying to keep a cycle going. So it's more important about like the next man up, and we're going to keep this thing going. And it's skill development training.
Mm-hmm.
So it's helping the guys who are already gifted utilize their talents and their skills to possibly help them play on Saturdays.
You've had some big names come through that program, especially Mauldin players such as Andrew Phillips and Jalen Anderson. So it's one of the most well-known, not only in the state but in the country, as in terms of developing young defensive backs in high school. Next question: what was the point in time in terms of watching Jaden Lucas and Deuce Caldwell, two of the biggest recruits in the state? What was the point in time in watching them when you knew that they were going to be big?
Well, to be absolutely honest with you, if when they were sophomores, you give me two sophomores
Mm-hmm.
with guy gifted talent. It's just it's technique at that point. So when you can utilize and teach these kids how to do the whys, then everything else goes from there. So it really didn't take much. It just taught. It really took those guys buying into what I was teaching and what I was preaching, and those guys did a phenomenal job of buying into it.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously the rest is history.
Yeah, for sure. They've been making big plays for us on Friday nights, and I'm sure we'll see them at the next level on Saturdays. Will you be calling the defensive plays this year, or do you think Coach Neesmith will retain that responsibility if we go back?
Coach Neesmith and I, we've talked regularly. He's been to my house a couple of times. Went over the defensive scheme. Uh, the defense is Coach Neesmith and I have been working hand in hand for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
So the defense is set up to win, and Coach Neesmith has done a phenomenal job with the defense, setting it up to utilize our best athletes and put them in the best position
Mm-hmm.
to be successful. So I would be calling the plays obviously after those long Sunday meetings that you guys don't
Mm-hmm.
know anything about
Yeah.
as a coaching staff, and we'll come up with a scheme together to put our kids in the best situation possible to be successful.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys plan on making any big changes to the defense in terms of personnel, or is it gonna stay
in the
largely
Super
the
Bowl.
same?
Making sure you can identify the athlete and put them in the best position possible
Mm-hmm.
to be successful. And I think Mauldin has done a great job of doing that since I've been there the past 5 years. We're putting the right kids in the right spot to make the right plays.
Yeah, exactly. And it's clear for us to see your energy level on the sidelines during the game. Where do you think your passion for the game of football comes from?
Um, um, to be honest with you, my freshman year at Mauldin High School, my C team football coach, and he eventually was my varsity football coach, Sammy Dixon, Coach
Mhm.
Dixon. He taught me a lot about passion, respect, and believing in yourself. And at the time, my confidence level wasn't there. So to be able to pour into these kids what was taught to me my ninth and senior year, um, like we have the athletes, we have the talent, we have the skill level. We just got to believe. Um, that's a big component in being successful in anything you do ever in life. You got to
Mhm.
believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, who else is going to believe in you?
True. Yep.
Nobody.
Yeah. Did you always want to be a coach when you were playing in high school, or did you just think that you just wanted to be a player, or was it a mix of both?
Well, my goal is going to the NFL. I think
Yeah.
like that was the goal. I was trying to get up out the hood. I was definitely trying my best to get up out of the hood. But so it's just one of those things that like you got to ask yourself. When I was in college, what are you good at?
Mhm.
You ask yourself, what are you really good at? I found out very quickly I was good at working with kids, and I wanted kids to believe in themselves. And I mean, what better profession than coaching high
Yeah.
school football?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. True. Did the recruiting of Andrew Phillips, has that helped you in handling Jaden and Deuce and just giving them tips and just encouraging them on how to handle coaches?
Absolutely. I learned a lot going on a lot of visits with Carlos Phillips
Mm-hmm.
and Andrew, aka Drew. Shout out Drew, Kentucky Wildcats. Let's
Yep.
go, baby.
Yep.
Let's go, man. But I definitely learned a lot during that process, and it's made me better understand how the NCAA views and just help evaluate our talent and
Mm-hmm.
tell them exactly what they need to know. So he gave me the tools to put back in and pour back in into our community, which college football is basically they're big on technique.
Yeah.
So it was good to be, you know what I'm saying? It was good to be like it was confirmed that I was teaching it the right way. So that was a blessing.
Mm-hmm. What are the similarities and differences in the three situations, Jaden, Deuce, and Andrew?
You said what now?
Are there any major similarities or differences in the three recruitments of Jaden, Deuce, and Andrew?
Well, not really, because I mean, keep in mind, Jaden and Deuce, they're going into their junior year.
Mm-hmm.
So, as far as the difference, obviously, Jaden has woke up the world, and the whole world is after him. And Deuce is slowly starting to wake up some of these coaches and see that the reason why he's the number one safety in the state of South Carolina.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
know.
kind
We
of
all think
cool.
he's very underrated. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, no, without a doubt. Randy Caldwell, aka Deuce, is a playmaker. A lot of people believe in him, and he's going to turn a lot of heads this year.
Yeah, for sure. Last question here. Are there any up-and-coming defensive backs that we should know about from Mauldin? We interviewed Coach Neesmith a couple weeks ago, and he told us about Fred Pearson in particular. So can you tell us a little bit about Fred and if there's any others that we should be keeping an eye on this upcoming season?
Yes, absolutely. Fred Pearson, his daddy played at the University of South Carolina,
Okay.
so the DNA is there. So we're definitely expecting Fred to step in and make some plays. And obviously I've been talking to a lot of recruiters about Fred as well. Andrew Bowens, or not, Aaron, sorry, Aaron Bowens.
Okay.
Another A. Here you go. Not Andrew, but Aaron. Another A. Aaron Bowens is gonna shock the world, and you heard it here first. When I talked to the DB coaches, North Carolina, Oklahoma, LSU, and Clemson, etc. Aaron Bowens is gonna shock the world.
All right.
You heard it here first.
That's good
Go
to hear.
Mavs.
That's good to hear personally for me because I'm a North Carolina fan. So I'll definitely be keeping an eye out for Aaron. Thanks again, Coach, for coming on with us. Yeah. Thanks again, Coach, for coming on with us. We wish you good luck in the rest of the summer and this upcoming season, whatever it may hold for us.
Thanks, big dog. Go Mavs.
Yep, go Mavs. See ya. Yep, so that was defensive coordinator Coach Washington here with us. And a couple quick thoughts from you guys on the interview. We'll start with you, Brendan. What did you think about that?
We can't hear it.
That's awkward. Ben, couple thoughts on the interview. What did you like?
Really, it's good to hear that insight on these up-and-coming defensive backs that we need to be looking for. Obviously, Neesmith had told us about Fred, but, I mean, I didn't really know much about this Aaron Bowens, but it'll be fun to look into and hopefully get to watch him make some plays this upcoming year. And, I mean, really just that insight on that. And then, I mean, just hearing him talk about, I mean, really – I love hearing him kind of hype up Deuce. That's pretty good.
Yep, so that's going to do it here for our Mauldin portion of this podcast. We'll now take us time. We'll transition. We'll go into trivia today. On the show, we've got some NBA trivia. Actually, we've got, what did I say, was it 7 questions or 8 questions? Sorry. Yeah, we've got what, 8 questions here, I think it is. All NBA. So we'll go ahead and get started here. First question for you guys. All of them have 4 answer choices, A, B, and C. Feel free to answer along with us if you would like. Question 1, we'll start with Ben. We'll go Landon, Brendan, and then I'll give you the answer. So first question, which player is the youngest to play in an NBA game? Is it A, Andrew Bynum, B, Kobe Bryant, C, Tracy McGrady, or D, Mauldin alum Kevin Garnett? A, Andrew Bynum, B, Kobe Bryant, C, Tracy McGrady, or D, Kevin Garnett. Which was the youngest player to play an NBA game? You.
I know it's either Kobe or KG. I'm gonna go with Kobe.
Landon?
Andrew Bynum.
Okay.
I'm
Brendan?
Go with Kobe.
Kobe, it is Andrew Bynum. I also got that one wrong. I thought it was Kobe as well. So 1 point for Landon. Okay. Second question here. Who is the shortest player to win the slam dunk contest? Is it Nate Robinson, Muggsy Bogues, Earl Boykins, or Spud Webb? Ben. We'll switch it. We'll go Brendan. We'll go Brendan. Nate Robinson, Muggsy Bogues, Earl Boykins, or Spud Webb? Who was the shortest player to win the slam dunk contest?
Is it Muggsy?
All right, Landon.
Spud.
And Ben?
Spud Webb.
It is Spud Webb. So 1 point for me, 1 point for Ben. All right. Third question. Here, who was selected directly before the pick right before MJ in the 1984 draft? Was it Hakeem Olajuwon, Sam Perkins, Charles Barkley, or Sam Bowie? Who was picked before MJ in the 84 draft? Ben.
Go over the choices one more time except for the last one.
Hakeem Olajuwon, Sam Perkins, or Charles Barkley? Or Sam Bowie, but you said not him.
I know Hakeem went first, and I know Chuck was a different draft, or if he was the same draft, he was later. I think I want to say Sam Perkins.
Sam Bowie.
What were the answers?
Hakeem Olajuwon, Sam Perkins, Charles Barkley, or Sam Bowie?
What was the last one?
Sam Bowie.
I'll take Bowie.
All right, it is Sam Bowie. Ben, you had the wrong Sam. I'm sorry. All right, so Brendan's up to 1, I'm up to 2, and Landon's 3 for 3, of course. All right, next question. This one's about Shaquille O'Neal, but it's not basketball related. So this one might throw off Landon.
This is my game.
All right, in which field does Shaq have his doctorate degree in? Is it music, education, criminology, or philosophy? What does he have his doctorate in?
Go over the four again. This is so
Music, education, criminology, or philosophy?
All right, Shaq having a doctorate is already clown activity. So I've got to go with one of those four clown, like the clowniest option of those four. So I'm going with music.
All right, Landon.
Wait, so what was it? Music, education?
Music, education, criminology, and philosophy.
Education. I don't know.
Philosophy.
It is education. Landon. I had the exact same thought process as Ben. I thought it was music because I know Shaq makes music. Yeah.
Yeah, and he rapped and DJ.
Oh yeah, DJ Diesel. Whatever.
All right. I don't even know. I feel like not.
I just it's already a clown thing. So you just gotta go with the clowniest option.
You wouldn't expect.
All right, next question. It should be a bit of an easier one right here. Which NBA player was nicknamed his former player? I just gave away the answer. Hopefully you weren't listening. Which NBA player was nicknamed Agent Zero? D'Angelo Russell, Kevin Love, Nick Young, or Gilbert Arenas?
Gilbert Arenas.
Gilbert.
Gilbert.
All right. I think you guys would have got that right anyway, even if I wouldn't have gave it away.
It's a pretty easy one because we know it's past players.
Yeah. Okay, next one. Who was the first ever NBA lottery pick? Is it Wayman Tisdale, Ben Benjamin, Xavier McDaniel, or Patrick Ewing? Who is the first ever NBA lottery pick?
I really don't know, but I kind of have an affiliation with the name Ben Benjamin, so I'm gonna go with that one.
All right, Landon.
Patrick Ewing.
Okay, Brendan.
Ewing.
It is Patrick Ewing. So 5.
You said nickname and first name all in one.
That's actually is a cool name though, Ben Benjamin. I like that one. All right, last question here. Which player was not a number 1 overall pick? Is it Allen Iverson, Kenya Martin, Chris Webber, or Dikembe Mutombo, who was not a number 1 overall pick?
I feel like it's Dikembe Mutombo. No.
All right, Landon.
I know AI was, so it's gonna be Dikende, I think.
Dikende.
It is Dikembe. So Landon takes another win, 7 for 7.
Yeah, you get one. You got like one wrong was the saddest thing. Well, Landon had the perfect wrong.
No, I got more wrong. I also got Benjamin wrong.
Yeah.
Landon really guessed education though.
Imagine Jack having a teacher. Being a teacher.
That'd actually be kind of cool.
All right, I'll let you guys just talk about whatever you want for a little bit while I get Rajan on the phone for Formula One.
You guys want to talk about Formula One?
I know absolutely nothing. I know absolutely nothing.
You guys want to talk about golf?
Again,
I haven't
know
really watched that
absolutely
either.
Um,
I mean, you can lead that one.
show up to Carolina Springs Monday. We've got a golf tournament going on. I'm gonna take the dub and the MHVN shirt. Yes, sir. Always repping.
Carolina Springs, really?
Well, it's not my choice. I think we have Raj in here, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna shut up. I messed something up, Andrew. Fix it.
All right, and we're back here. We got Rajan here now, Rajan Chitral. He is going to talk about Formula One racing. They started off this past weekend. So Rajan, go ahead and start us off. Just talk a little bit about that here for us.
What's up, guys? As Andrew said, I'll be talking about the Formula One race today. And Andrew, what a season opener. We just had the first race this past Sunday for the 2020 season, and oh my God, one of the most exciting races that I have ever seen. So we're going to start by looking at the qualifying results, and in qualifying, as expected, we had both Mercedes on top, taking pole position and second place. Behind them, we had Verstappen and Norris completing the second row. Norris surprisingly fast, and as I saw in preseason testing, this MCL 35 for the 2020 year, McLaren's car, it's showing some surprising pace. Behind him, Alex Albon and Sergio Perez, and the Racing Point cars once again showing surprising amount of pace this year. Completing the third row is Charles Leclerc with the Ferrari and Carlos Sainz in a McLaren. After them, Stroll and Ricciardo. P11 and P12 are Sebastian Vettel and Gasly. In P11 with Sebastian Vettel, again, I didn't expect one of the Ferrari cars to make it or to get it disqualified in Q2, but the Ferrari car for the 2020 year has been showing a lack of pace. So I'm disappointed but not surprised with the boys in red. Up next, we have Kvyat and Ocon, then Grosjean, Magnussen, Russell, Giovinazzi, and completing the final row, Raikkonen and Latifi. And Nicholas Latifi in the Williams car in P20 is the only rookie this season, so it's going to be exciting to see how he carries his progress throughout the season. Now with this, we're going to start now with the race on Sunday. Opened up in Austria, beautiful day, great weather for some good tires. And we had most of the grid starting on soft tires in Q3. So the top 10, most of them were on soft tires except for Max Verstappen, who started on medium tires. And so once the race started, into turn one, surprisingly clean, not that much drama. Hamilton and Charles Leclerc were both pushed wide at turn one. But where the drama really started to pick up was lap 11, when Max Verstappen, who was showing a good chance at victory for this one, retired of a mechanical failure. His engineers sent him a gearbox update over the air, told him to try some new settings, and his engine kicked into anti-stall, so he wasn't able to finish the race. Next thing we've got with the action is lap 31, when last year, Sebastian Vettel, he had a notorious reputation of spinning out in the worst moments, but this time, lap 31, we had Carlos Sainz trying to make an overtake on Charles Leclerc at turn 3 of the circuit. Sainz tries to go down the inside of Leclerc, but Leclerc blocks him off just enough to stay ahead, and Vettel tries to go on the inside of Sainz. Unluckily, he locks his front wheels and rams into the rear of Sainz, making Vettel spin. So he tries to go on the inside of turn 3, but Sainz doesn't give him the room, which that's a good racing move, completely fair by Sainz, but Vettel spun out, and once again, a disappointing result. The irony here is that Carlos Sainz is actually going to replace Sebastian Vettel at Ferrari next year, so Vettel got spun out by the person replacing him. Next thing we've got up is lap 51. So between lap 31 and 51, there was a lot of clean racing, lots of good overtakes. You know, we had people in the DRS zones overtaking each other, but no drama. Everything was really clean. And that's when lap 51 hit, where George Russell in the Williams car using that Mercedes power unit had a gearbox issue and had to retire. Now, this was really concerning because there's 3 teams that use the Mercedes power unit on the grid: Mercedes, Racing Point, and Williams. And since we saw an issue with the Williams car, the Mercedes team was really frightened because it might be the same issue with them. So this incident at lap 1 triggered the first safety car. And safety cars are always a good thing in the world of motorsport because it brings the grid back closer together and it makes the racing more exciting. Lap 55 is when we saw our next action, when Alex Albon overtook Sainz into turn 3. So Carlos Sainz was defending on the outside. He locked up and Albon was able to take the inside line. Alex Albon was really making up for Max Verstappen's retirement here. He was trying to get those points for the team, and honestly, he had a good shot at victory. Next up, during lap 55, we had our second safety car because Kimi Räikkönen in the Alfa Romeo, his wheel just fell off of his car. His front right, it seems it might have been an issue with the lock nut, but the wheel came off and he had to retire to the side, which triggered that second safety car. And again, under the safety car, the grid bunches back together, and we saw our next action at lap 61, where Alex Albon got an amazing exit out of turn 3, following Lewis Hamilton into turn 4. And now we're going to have a quick flashback to Brazil 2019. During that race, Alex Albon was trying to go on the outside of Lewis Hamilton, and Lewis Hamilton blocked him off, hitting Albon's the front right and spinning him out, eliminating him from the race. We had the same thing happen into turn 4 of Austria this year. Alex Albon getting a great exit out of turn 3, having DRS going around the outside of Lewis Hamilton, had completed the overtake by the time they got to the apex of the corner, but Lewis Hamilton just failed to rotate the car enough and crashed into the back or the rear right of Alex Albon, which made him lose his position. He was fighting for second position, but sadly Alex Albon, from resulting mechanical failures, had to retire from the race later. Now the last 10 laps is when the race really picks up. Lap 64, we have Leclerc from P4 overtaking Sainz. Lap 66, Leclerc overtaking Perez. Now Lewis Hamilton, during lap 66, receives a 5-second penalty for his crash with Alex Albon. Now after this happens, we're seeing a surprising pickup in pace from Charles Leclerc. As I said in qualifying, with him qualifying P7, they weren't that fast, but somehow during these last 10 laps, I guess the Ferrari engineers have given him a couple extra settings on the engine, so he was able to access that extra bit of power. Now next up, we've got on lap 69, Lando Norris out of nowhere overtakes Sergio Perez into turn 3. Lap 70, Daniel Kvyat has a rear suspension failure and his rear left wheel rips off of the car. Now we're on to the last 2 laps of the race. We've got Valtteri Bottas in first place, Lewis Hamilton in second, Charles Leclerc in third, and Sergio Perez in fourth, with Lando Norris in a close fifth. Now, the gap between Lando Norris and Lewis Hamilton in lap 70 was 5.2 seconds. This is important because Lewis has that 5-second penalty. So if Norris can get within 5.2 seconds of Hamilton, or within 5 seconds of Hamilton, he's going to be able to score the first podium of his career. Now we come on to the last lap, lap 71. Lando Norris is giving it all he's got. He's putting everything into this final lap. He has to reduce that gap from 5.2 seconds in the last lap to less than 5 seconds this lap. So we've got Norris. He's going clean through all of the corners. He comes across the start-finish line, and he reduced the gap by 0.4 seconds, down to 4.8, setting the new lap record of 1 minute and 7 seconds and 0.475,
Wow.
which gave Lando Norris his first podium of the season and kicked Lewis Hamilton off of that. So we had our starting order of Bottas, Hamilton, and Verstappen as our top 3, but we ended with Bottas in the lead, keeping his lead through the entire race. P2, we had Charles Leclerc, and in P3, we had Lando Norris, scoring his first podium of the season and scoring McLaren a good bit of points. So, Andrew, after we were done with that, we're now back for another race in Austria for this weekend, and we actually just finished the free practice sessions. Now, what free practice sessions lets us do is it allows us to get a good idea of how race is going to be on Sunday. And looking at the free practice results, 1 and 2 were today. We're seeing Max Verstappen leading free practice 2. Now, we have to raise the question, although Verstappen's fast in the practices, does he really have the pace to continue and score that victory on race day? With all of these results, surprisingly, we've also got the Ferraris in P9 and P16. Honestly, kind of expected with their weaker power unit this year. Sebastian Vettel, of course, not able to outscore his teammate. But free practice 2 results are top 10. We've got Verstappen, Bottas, so that's a Red Bull and a Mercedes, both racing points completing the second row with Perez and Stroll. We've got Sainz in P5, Hamilton P6, Albon P7, Norris P8, Leclerc P9, and Ocon P10. So I'm really excited to see how this race goes on Sunday. Of course, we've got free practice 3 and qualifying tomorrow. So I'll be taking a good look at that, which will give us the best look at how the race is going to be on Sunday. But overall, hands down the best season opener we could have asked for. At the end of the race, there were 9 retirements. So only 11 racers out of the 20 completed the race, and we had a completely unexpected podium from Charles Leclerc and Lando Norris. That's all I've got for Formula One this weekend. Andrew, back to you.
Yeah, for sure. An impressive performance from Bottas of Mercedes. So make sure. I think Ben wants to say something.
I have a question for Rajan.
Yeah.
Well, who's the greatest racer of all time?
Now, if you ask me, a lot of people would tell you Michael Schumacher, but Lewis Hamilton has just been able to provide such consistency in his races.
Yeah, I
He was
would say
signed-
Lewis Hamilton as well.
Yeah, he signed with McLaren when he was 13 years old, and since then he's been able to deliver.
Yeah, representing the great nation of England very well, Lewis Hamilton. So make sure you tune in. Are the qualifiers also on ESPN?
Qualifying, it should also be on ESPN. Sometimes they cover it, sometimes they don't.
Okay, so for sure, make sure you turn into the race on this Sunday, 9:10 a.m.
9:10.
on ESPN for another. Hopefully, it will be another great race. So look out for that. If you got nothing going on, I know MLS is coming back. We'll talk about that a little bit on, but it's just good to see live sports coming back now.
Exactly.
All right, thanks, Rajan. We'll hang up now. Well, thanks again for coming on. You did great work. Thank you.
All right, thank you for having me.
No problem. All right, now we're back. We'll switch over to soccer to end this off. MLS is back. That tournament started on Wednesday with a really good match between Orlando City and Inter Miami. Luis Nani, formerly of Manchester United, scored the winner late to get Orlando City all 3 points. And then on Thursday, we had another game. It was Philadelphia Union versus New York City FC, in which Philadelphia won 1-0. And then today, I'm not sure if there were any games today. I don't remember seeing any. But we know for sure tomorrow, Atlanta United are back. Okay, today it's tonight at 9 p.m., Seattle and San Jose. But tomorrow, make sure you tune in. Me, Brendan, and Ben, I know we'll be tuning in. The return of Atlanta United. They will play the team who I consider our rivals, the New York Red Bulls. I hate the New York Red Bulls, especially Kamar Lawrence before he left. But I do not like the New York Red Bulls. Hopefully we can get all 3 points, although it will be a close game. Ben, Brendan, you got any thoughts on the Atlanta United versus New York Red Bulls game?
Yeah, Atlanta United's really going to need a new striker to step up. Likely losing Josef Martinez, who's just been absolutely incredible in these past few years at the club. Likely losing him for the rest of the season with a torn ACL. So Atlanta United is definitely going to need a striker to step up. Somebody, I mean, you could, me and Andrew was discussing it later. We could see Ezekiel Barco in a false 9. Or if it's somebody from kind of the younger ranks, like a younger guy stepping up. I mean, there's definitely some talented younger players in this Atlanta United program, but end of story. Somebody's got to step up to fill some incredibly large shoes from Josef Martinez to score the goals.
Yeah, we presume that will either be Adam Yan, who we signed over the winter transfer window, or it could be Barco playing at the striker position. But we'll really see with that. A tough test for Frank de Boer and his men against the New York Red Bulls. Of course, that's tomorrow at 8 p.m. Then again on Thursday, slightly easier matchup. We will face FC Cincinnati at 9 a.m., which will be that's a weird time for them. Last 9 a.m. That seems more like of a European time, especially England. But speaking of England, we'll transfer over to them now. Talk about the English Premier League. My team, Manchester United, played yesterday against Aston Villa, and we won 3-0. Mason Greenwood getting on the score sheet along with Paul Pogba and Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes, the latter, he became the first Man United player since Cristiano Ronaldo to win back-to-back Premier League Player of the Month award. As well, another record was broken yesterday. With our win, we became the first team ever in the Premier League history to win 4+ games by 3 or more goals. So basically what we're saying is best team ever? Is that what we're saying? Just kidding. Definitely not. Ben has something to say about that, of course. He's a Liverpool fan. Ben, just who do you guys play next?
It's not Arsenal. It's one of the smaller teams.
Oh, yeah, Arsenal and Spurs on Sunday, the North London derby. That'll be a good one to watch.
I know our game after next is Arsenal. I don't know Burnley. We play Burnley tomorrow. That should.
It might be a bit of a tough one because they'll want to sit back.
I mean, Burnley can be a tricky side. I always forget what's their manager's name.
Sean Dyche.
Yeah, Sean Dyche. He obviously done a great job with that Burnley team since 2012. Turned them into Premier League mainstays. I mean, one of the more underrated managers in the league. He can always do a great job with that Burnley side. So it'll be interesting to see what they can give us. I mean, obviously, Liverpool maybe still on a little bit of a high since clinching the Premier League title, but I think it should be a pretty comfortable win. I'd predict probably 2 or 3-0, 2 or 3-1, something like that.
Yeah, I'd say something similar to that. Manchester United, we will play on Monday against Southampton. As I said, the North London derby, that's really the game of the weekend. It will be on Sunday, Spurs versus Arsenal. Now switch over to Champions League. The draw happened today. Of course, there's 4 round of 16 ties that need to be finished. Chelsea versus Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich have a 3-0 advantage on that one. Napoli versus Barcelona is tied 1-1. Real Madrid and Manchester City. Manchester City has a 2-1 lead after the first leg, and then Lyon has a 1-0 lead over Juventus. Those are the round of 16 ties. They will be played on August 7th and 8th. And then the quarterfinals will be August 12th through the 16th. They will be the teams that have already made it. 2 teams that will be playing is RB Leipzig and Atletico Madrid, and then Atalanta and PSG. And then, of course, the 4 teams have to play. The 8 teams have to determine who will make it. It will be the winner of Napoli and Barcelona versus the winner of Chelsea and Bayern Munich, and then the winner of Real Madrid versus Manchester City will play the winner of Lyon and Juventus. Ben, who do you think? Who's your current favorite to take home the Champions League title?
That's a good question. I mean, obviously, Bayern been looking very strong recently. I'd say that's really a tough question for me to answer. I'd say it's probably I'd probably go with Bayern.
Yeah, it's really the one side. The one side is very competitive. You got Real Madrid, Manchester City, Juventus, Barcelona, Chelsea, Bayern Munich. And then the other side, it seems pretty simple. You would think it would be PSG who would make it to the finals. So I'm going to have PSG on the one side. I think actually PSG, I think they're going to break the European duck. I got PSG to win it.
No.
I think they have a much easier path to the final. But the thing that is going against them the most is the fact that they have not played a game. They have not played games since the quarantine, since everything was canceled because of quarantine, which I think Rangers in particular will have a big problem with in the Europa League. But that's the only thing. That's the only reason I see PSG falling, and also that they don't have a lot of experience. But I'm gonna go with PSG anyway.
I mean, I gotta say, I probably got Bayern as my favorite as a dark horse. I think Madrid could definitely give it a run. They've been looking pretty good in La Liga recently.
If I had to go to it with a dark horse, I'd go with. I don't really know because I don't think Atalanta will do very well. RB Leipzig probably.
A few months ago, I would have said Leipzig, but Timo Werner saying he's not going to be playing for Leipzig. I mean, I think that
it's
really
still a balanced team.
They're still a really solid team, but Timo Werner just kind of gave him that sharp edge.
We'll see how Atletico Madrid go for it. That'll make a big difference.
Atletico Madrid could definitely give it a run. I mean, I mean, if they can just do what you saw in vid against Liverpool, and that's something I really like talking about, but getting that early goal, getting in front, and then just being able to park the bus the rest of the way. I mean, that could really help them take them far in this competition. But I really don't think they have the firepower up front to make it to the final.
Yeah, so that's going to do it. Now, one last topic before. Make sure you tune in just about 30 minutes. We'll be switching over to Twitch, twitch.tv/MHBN. We will continue our FIFA League. I'll just give you a rundown of what happened last week. And we played the first 2 weeks of matchups. It's me, Marcos, Brendan, and Ben. I'm Man United. Brendan's PSG, Ben's Liverpool, and Marcos is Barcelona. Currently, we have a tie on top of the league. It's between me and Brendan. We each have 4 points, except I have the tiebreaker because of goal differential. I have 1 win, 1 tie. Brendan has 1 win, 1 tie. Ben has 2 points with 2 ties, and then Marcos sitting on 0 points and a whopping -17 goal differential. Last week's results, Brendan beat Marcos 6-1, and me and Ben tied 1-1. And then I beat Marcos 14-1, and Ben and Brendan tied 2-2. A couple players that you should be watching on top of the Golden Boot race. Mbappe has 5, Martial has 4, Icardi has 3, and then Dan James and Paul Pogba have 2.
Don't forget Fabinho with 1.
Also, Ter Stegen with 4 own goals. Not a single clean sheet. So if you want to see goals, make sure you tune in because you're going to see a lot of goals.
We gotta mention that Mbappe had 4 of his 5 goals against Marcos. That's got to be mentioned.
Martial had a lot more balanced, 3 and 1.
There you go.
And then for assists, Icardi at 3, Bruno Fernandes at 3, and then Dan James, Neymar, and Mbappe at 2. And as I said, no clean sheets so far. Today, what are we gonna say? Probably we'll start the stream around 5:30. 4 games today. We'll start it off with